Aloha and welcome to episode number 5 in the Bike Camper Build series. This is the bike camper named Imua, and Imua in Hawaiian means to move forward, and this trailer is going to move forward in several different ways. In this video, we're going to be making the end panels. We've already made the side panels, and so now we're going to be making the end panels. These are basically a 4 foot wide by 4.5 foot tall panel. The 4.5 foot part peaks at the very middle, and then the sides stop at 4 foot. So basically it's a 4 foot high area, and then you've got another 6 inches with the curve on the roof. For these end pieces, I'm using 1708, which is a layer of woven roven and chopped strand. This is a thicker layer of fiberglass because I want these end pieces to be a little bit stronger than the side panels. Here I am making my measurements and marking it with a nice big Sharpie. If you can cut your material out ahead of time, it'll save you extra time afterwards in cutting out the final shape. It's a lot easier to cut the fiberglass cloth before you impregnate it with resin. Can't find my good scissors for cutting the fiberglass cloth, so in this case I'm using a pair of dull kitchen shears, and boy, I'm really paying for it. This panel needs to be 4 foot wide and 4.5 foot tall. The 4.5 foot tall part is right at the very top because the curve goes down to 4 foot on either side. Here you can see I'm using a piece of the cut down PVC pipe to create a template so that I can draw that nice curve. And then we're back to cutting with these terrible kitchen shears. I can really only use about 1/2 inch at the very base of the blades. No time to complain, just keep on cutting. Pretty soon you'll be done. Now that I've got the shape cut out, it's time to go ahead and wax the form. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and use the same piece of stock material that I've been using. And of course, I'm continuing to use the car wax here as it does a great job. So make sure that your form is waxed very thoroughly. Any area that you don't wax, then your fiberglass material is going to go ahead and stick directly to that. So for making sheet materials, get something nice and flat, wax it good, and then go ahead and build your fiberglass piece on top of that. And once that board is waxed, you want to go ahead and coat it with that first layer of resin. 1708 is a very thirsty material, so making sure that you get this initial coat of resin down on top of the form is very important. Once the area is nicely coated with resin, I go ahead and roll out the piece of cloth that I just cut down and then smooth out all the little wrinkles. Very important to do this before you start laying down resin because you want to make sure that everything's in its final place. For this type of work, the roller really is the perfect tool. Make sure that you get the area that you're working with nice and saturated. The white material, the white color within the fiberglass itself is going to dissolve, and that's basically styrene or dissolved styrofoam. So as the solvent in the resin hits that, it dissolves, and this is what turns your fiberglass clear as you apply the resin. The nice thing about this embedded styrene is that it makes it really easy to see where you've applied enough resin and where you have not. Once you apply enough resin, the fiberglass will turn clear and you can see everything else underneath it. The roller does a good job of putting just the right amount of resin down, and then also works great to help you to absorb any extra resin and then be able to redistribute that where it's needed elsewhere onto the piece of material. The nice thing about this work area is that I can simply go ahead and flip the piece around and then go ahead and apply resin to the area that I wasn't able to easily reach. Very important to take your time and do this right. You want to make sure that you apply enough resin, but not too much. These little mini rollers do a great job. They're able to absorb just enough resin as well as pick up any extra resin, and they're also the great size for going ahead and helping to roll and push the resin through all of those different layers of fiberglass material. First panel came out great. Now it's time to do another one. In this case, I'm just going to make a rectangular piece of the fiberglass material and then cut it out to match the size of the one that I've already made. For this second piece, I simply repeat the same steps that I did before. Wax the mold, apply a layer of resin, lay down your piece of fiberglass cloth, and then impregnate it with resin until it turns completely clear. Smooth it all out and let it harden. Here is another view of the first piece all laid out and curing. And here are both pieces done. The next step is to go ahead and build the box.